Hello everyone. Um, Today in this video, I just want to talk about basically like my experience with Rojo, um, and how I use Rojo to make Roblox games. So if you don't know what Rojo is, basically Rojo allows you to like use different tools while you create your Roblox games. So you could use linters like ceiling. Can you use stylers like Style Lua to um or like make your code like make it easier to code, and you can like code using Sublime Text. You can code using VS Code, like whatever editor you want, and that's mainly like what it is. And I'm just gonna talk about like whether or not like I found it useful. I mean, I found it pretty easy to use Rojo, but at the same time, it was difficult. It was easy to code because that's just typing, and it was very nice to see like the linting, so that I would be able to like know when I have an unused variable, or you know, yeah, it just helps you see what code is not exactly the best practice to do, and so it helps me like basically code more efficiently. Um, and using style.lua, I was able to basically just click Control S, which saves my file, and it just like automatically organizes like the whole Lua file, which is very, very useful for like keeping standardized, organized um, files. I think if you use like VS Code, there's another like extension called like Prettier, which also like basically organizes your code like that. Um, and so I find the styling and the linters to be very easy to use, and I find them to be better than Roblox styling and linters. Um, I didn't find the autocomplete to be better than Roblox, um, but I used like the Lua language server uh, for IntelliSense, so that might not have been the best, but I find that the IntelliSense for Roblox is a lot easier to use. I'm not sure if I could have customized it so that like if I made a function, it automatically like entered the end and indented like a tab in to the function like it does for Roblox, but that was something that I found pretty annoying to do every single time, which kind of just slowed down like the actual scripting. But some other tools I used that I found not necessary but helpful was Roact and etc. Um, I found that like adding files and being able to use GitHub to like have version control was really really like I love that part, because sometimes I've had like problems on Roblox where like I coded, I saved, I come back the next day, and like it's not saved. It's so weird. It might be like an issue just for me, but you know that's something that's pretty annoying. Um, if I want to go back to a certain code, also, I'm gonna have to go into the version history, and I'm gonna also have to make sure that I actually saved. And I don't know like the specific save. I don't know any details about it, and so basically, coding with Rojo allows me to like track my progress, and that's really really helpful. Um, I use tools like Aftman. I use tools like um, Seeding. I talked about Style Lua, um, and that's pretty much it. I just use those tools to code like the plus one key game I was making. If you guys watched like previous videos, and I basically what I disliked about Rojo was that you had to use the default.project.json to basically manipulate the workspace. And I found that to be pretty annoying because I know if I was in studio, all I had to do was like insert a part, change the color, make it anchored with the UI, which is like fairly easy to do. But with Rojo, you gotta have to type it all out in the project.json file. And so that was really, really annoying. Um, if you have like a short term project, I would say Rojo would be good for the version control and the sealing and the style Lua that you might get, like the linters and the styling. But it becomes so annoying to do like the smallest things that would take you just longer in Rojo because like you're just typing it out. But if you have like a more longer term project, I would say like, you know, just use Roblox Studio because it's just a lot faster to actually do what you want. So that was like for the Roblox Studio in terms of like building and adding parts to the workspace, specifically like modeling, etc. For um, the UI, I found that using React, it was kind of like the same thing. Or if you're just making quick UI, just use Studio. But if you're gonna like have a more long term like UI framework, etc., then that's when you probably want to use Rojo because in the long term, it's gonna be easier to use. But in the short term, it'll be a pain because you have to type everything, and there's plugins like Codify that will like speed up this process. But again, you don't have to use Codify if you're just using it in studio, like building it in Studio. And so I recommend it using Rojo depending on the type of like the time frame of your project. So if you're gonna do a short term project, something quick, do it in Studio. It's gonna be faster and a lot easier. But if you're gonna have like a long term project, you should use Rojo because it's great for the version control, the organization, and the tools it offers. It's good for like the big frameworks. Um, I do have to say that I'm probably going to miss using version control even like for like short-term projects. So I think version control is great for both of them. I think that both short-term and long-term projects should have version control, but you know, you're able to do that in Rojo, but not necessarily straight from Roblox Studio. And so that's a con, I would say, of using Roblox Studio. You have to use the plain old version history, which really sucks to be honest. And so I'd say if you're someone who really, really feels like you'll need to use Git for the project, no matter the time frame, I'd say go with Rojo. Some shortcuts I used to shortcut like using React and shortcut typing out all the properties etc. in the default project.json file was creating the actual assets. Like for specifically for React, I would create the UI, use Codify, and then like put in the independent components basically so that I could use it. So if I knew I wanted a specific size, shape, etc., I would be able to create that specific component, put it into Codify, and then add it as a React element or something like that. And let's say you don't really know the specific like size of how you want it to look, etc. I would say you could get like a visualizer. I could show you guys what I'm talking about. It's like UI visualizer. You could use it for React. There's another one specifically for Studio, but React visualizer you could use it with Rojo. And as you can see, you can type in the React like element you want to create, and it like shows you. And so that's another great thing to use if you just want to speed up the time it takes to actually create these things. Um, and if you're just like trying to mess with things in the workspace, etc., I would like, let's say you're just trying to like build something. I wouldn't build it from Rojo. That wouldn't make any sense. And it'd be hard to actually see it. What I do is actually build it in Studio, but download it as a like RBXM file or something like that, and just import it into the file system, and then put the path directory. For those of you who know how to do that, for those of you who don't, Rojo works with your file system on your computer, and so you just put the path of the like asset you want to use into the project, that the default project JSON, and it just loads it into Studio basically. And so you could do that. Um, but overall, Rojo is really easy, not easy to install. I had some issues installing it with like Afterman, the toolchain manager. I can make another video about that, but it's pretty easy to use, and I think it works great when you want to use Visual Studio Code and other linters, installers, and tools that you might want to use for your projects. Um, it's not like it's not for like the beginner Roblox scripters. If you're a beginner, I wouldn't directly go into Rojo, but if you want something of a challenge, I guess I'd say that learning Rojo is useful. But I'd start with Roblox Studio first, just to like understand how to code, and then move up into what is called like the professional game development with Rojo. But I think it's just another way of creating a game that people use, and it's successful. It does have its like quirks and cons, but you know, it people have like created successful games using Rojo, and so I wouldn't say it's completely bad. And it just depends on the type of person you are, what you're looking for, time frame of your project, and yeah.